Hey beautiful people, welcome to the bookshelf. With my promise from a previous video, I come back again with the secret to achieve a deep work from a book Deep Work, authored by Cal Newport. In my previous video, I told you about the deep work. Deep work is nothing but doing your work without any distraction with deep focus. So how we can go deep? How we can work deeply? This is what I am going to tell you today. But before I start, if you didn't yet watch the first part of a deep work, just go and watch now. A link is here in the description. In this video, I am going to tell you the 3 important rules to do deep work. So watch it till the end. There is a line by Roy Baumeister. You have a finite amount of willpower that becomes depleted as you use it. There is a simple way to achieve a deep work state, but we have a limited willpower. So we have to go deep or do deep work with our limited willpower. So how we are going to achieve this? To achieve this deep state with limited willpower, you have to work in a distraction-free environment, in a silent place where no one disturbs you. With this, you have to add rules and rituals to your routines. But sometimes we don't even need anyone to disturb us. Our mobile phone notifications are enough to distract us. For example, if you are working on some task and in between you are scrolling through your phones, it will take much more willpower than doing a task without any distraction. While considering our limited willpower, author gives us 6 strategies that we can use to do a deep work. The first one, decide on your depth philosophy. Author gives us 4 philosophy to going a deep. In which way you can do deep work. The first one, the monastic philosophy of a deep work scheduling. In this philosophy, a person can go deep only when the person is working with the flow or doing a deep work in the distraction-free environment. But when a person gets distracted, then they can't work well and it is difficult for them to go deep work. In this philosophy, a person can go deep only when the person is working with the flow or doing a deep work in the distraction-free environment. But when a person gets distracted, then they can't work well and it is difficult for them to go back to deep work state. The next philosophy, the bimodal philosophy of a deep work scheduling. You have to divide your time, dedicating some clearly defined stretches to deep pursuits and leaving the rest open to everything else. During the deep time, the bimodal worker will act monastically, seeking intense and uninterrupted concentration. This division of time between deep and open can happen on multiple scales. For a day, we gain to depth and the rest to open time. Similarly, on the scale of a year, you might dedicate one season to contain most of your deep stretches. The minimum unit of a time for a deep work in this philosophy tends to be at least 1 full day. The biggest obstacles to implementing this philosophy is that many fear they lack in their current positions. If even an hour away from your inbox makes you uncomfortable, then certainly the idea of disappearing for a day or more at a time will seem impossible. The rhythmic philosophy of a deep work scheduling. This philosophy argues that the easiest way to consistently start deep work sessions is to transform them into a simple regular habit. The goal, in other words, is to generate a rhythm for this work that removes the need for you to invest energy in deciding if and when you are going to go deep. The rhythmic philosophy provides an interesting contrast to the bimodal philosophy. It perhaps fails to achieve long concentration sessions favored by the bimodalist. The trade-off, however, is that this approach works better with the reality of human nature. The last one, the journalistic philosophy of a deep work scheduling. The approach in which you fit deep work wherever you can into your schedule, author call this approach generalist philosophy. The ability to rapidly switch your mind from shallow to deep mode doesn't come naturally. Without practice, such switches can seriously deplete your finite willpower reserves. Author gave an example of himself that he wrote the deep work using this philosophy. He had to take advantage of free stretches of time wherever they popped up. If his kids were taking a good nap, he should grab his laptop and lock himself in the home office. If a meeting at a work was cancelled or an afternoon left open, he might retreat to one of his favorite libraries on a campus to squeeze out a few hundred more words and so on. The generalist philosophy of a deep work scheduling remains difficult to pull off, but if you are confident in the skill of going a deep, it can be surprisingly robust way to squeeze out a large amount of depth from an otherwise demanding schedule. The second strategy is ritualize. Rituals are the strict daily routines that you follow. To make the most out of your deep work sessions, build a rituals with a strictness. There are some general questions that any effective ritual must address. Where you will work and for how long? How you will work once you start to work? How you will support your work? These questions will help you get started in crafting your deep work ritual. But keep in mind that finding a ritual and the sticks might require experimentations. So be willing to work at it. The third strategy. Make a grand gestures. In an interview, J.K. Rowling recalled, in 2007, when J.K. Rowling was finishing The Death Hallows, there came a day where the window cleaner came, the kids were at home, the dogs were barking, it was too much. So J.K. Rowling decided to do something extreme to shift her mindset where it needed to be. She checked into a suite in the 5-star hotel. The first day's writing went well, so she kept coming back, and she ended up finishing the last of the Harry Potter books. Bill Gates, for example, was famous during his time as a Microsoft CEO for taking a think weeks during which he would leave behind his normal work and family obligations to retreat to a cabin with a stack of papers and books. His goal was to think deeply, without distraction, about the big issues relevant to his company. In all this example, it's not just the change of environment or seeking of a quiet that enables more depth. The dominant force is the psychology of committing so seriously to the task at hand. To put yourself in an exotic location to focus on a writing project, or to take a week off from work just to think, or to lock yourself in a hotel room until you complete an important invention. These gestures push your deep goal to a level of mental priority that helps unlock the needed mental resources. Something to go deep, you must first go big. Don't work alone. Author here talking about the collaborative form of deep work, where two persons work with each other and form deep work. Author called it a whiteboard effect. Just like for some types of problems, working someone else at the proverbial shared whiteboard can push you deeper than if you were working alone. But working side by side with someone on a problem, you can push each other towards a deeper level of depth, and therefore towards the generation of more and more valuable output as compared to working alone. Fifth strategy is execute like a business. This means every task you are doing, do it like a business. To do that, author adapt to 4DX discipline they proved in driving him towards effective action on his goal of working deeply. So what is that 4 discipline of 4DX framework? Discipline number 1, focus on the widely important. Discipline number 2, act on the lead majors. Discipline number 3, keep a compelling scoreboard. Discipline number 4, create a cadence of accountability. Review that scoreboard. The 6th strategy is be lazy. Author says at the end of the workday, shut down your consideration of work issues until the next morning. No after dinner email check, no mental replays of conversations, and no scheming about how you will handle an upcoming challenge. Shut down work thinking completely. If you need more time, then extend your workday. But once you shut down, your mind must be left free. Providing your conscious brain time to rest enables your unconscious mind to take a shift, sorting through your most complex professional challenges. A shutdown habit, therefore, is not necessarily reducing the amount of time you are engaged in productive work, but is instead diversifying the type of work you deploy. Your capacity for a deep work in a given day is limited. If you are careful about your schedule, you should hit your daily deep work capacity during your workday. Now the time is for the three rules that you are waiting for, which will help you get the most out of this deep work habit. The strategies for training your concentration ability and fighting back all the distraction. So the rule number one, embrace boredom. Rule number one taught you how to integrate deep work into your schedule and support it with routines and rituals designed to help you consistently reach the current limit of your concentration ability. Deep work habit requires training, and this training must address two goals: improving your ability to concentrate intensely and overcoming your desire for distraction. As we know how much time we spend on internet, and it's not surprising if I say whole day, just leaving some hours aside. And we now come to the stage that we can't no longer stay away from internet because everything is so connected. For simple payment we are dependent on internet. But what if we use the internet at the extreme where we are using the internet for entertainment more than necessary and forget about our real life? This kind of a situation is not good for our health. Regarding this, the process where we try to minimize and just use the internet when it mostly required and not to glue to the screen whole day or to mention these things in his deep work. It's called the internet sabbath, sometimes called a digital detox. In its basic form, this ritual asks you to put aside a regular time, typically one day a week, where you refrain from network technology. The internet sabbath is meant to remind you of what you miss when you are glued to a screen. Internet sabbath cannot by itself cure a distracted brain. If you eat healthy just one day a week, you are unlikely to lose weight, as the majority of your time is still spent gorging. Similarly, if you spend just one day a week resisting distraction, you are unlikely to diminish your brain's craving for these stimuli, as most of your time is still spent giving into it. Author proposed alternative to the internet sabbath. Instead of scheduling the occasional break from a distraction so you can focus, you should instead schedule the occasional break from a focus to give in to a distraction. In simple words, author wants to tell, don't take a breaks from a distraction, instead take a breaks from a focus. Author gives us a solution to avoid this internet habit. He says, schedule in advance when you will use the internet and then avoid it altogether outside these times. He suggests that you keep a notepad near your computer at work. On this pad, record the next time you are allowed to use the internet. Until you arrive at that time, absolutely no network connectivity is allowed, no matter how tempting. The internet is seductive. You may think you are just retrieving a single key email from your inbox, but you will find it hard to not glance at the other urgent messages that have recently arrived. It doesn't take many of these exceptions before your mind begins to retreat the barrier between internet and offline blogs as permeable, diminishing the benefit of these strategies. Author says, enforce at least a 5-minute gap between the current moment and the next time you can go online. Scheduling internet use at home as well as at work can further improve your concentration training. To simplify matters, when scheduling internet use after work, you can allow time-sensitive communication into your offline blogs, as well as a time-sensitive information retrieval. Outside of these pragmatic exceptions, however, when in an offline blog, put your phone away, ignore a text, and refrain from internet use. The key here is not to avoid or even to reduce the total amount of time you spend engaging in distraction behavior, but is instead to give yourself plenty of opportunity throughout your evening to resist switching to these distractions at the hint of boredom. Because whenever we get bored, we start to scroll through our phones on internet, and author tell us to avoid such a kind of behavior and start to get used to this boredom and give a chance to your thoughts to flow. To simply wait and be bored was become a novel experience in modern life. But from the perspective of a concentration training, it's incredibly valuable. Rule number 2, quit social media. Now you will say, oh, this is impossible, dear. It is certainly difficult to quit social media. I also agree on that point because now social media is not just a messaging tool which also used to get to know new people, but it also involved a business as well. We use this social media to earn marketing and selling our product. Then how can we stop using social media? But there are also people who use this social media more than necessary without getting any profit out of it. All social networks like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and infotainment sites, business insiders, and BuzzFeed, and many more. Authors call them collectively network tools, and these network tools becomes somewhat a part of our life. But this also the truth that you can't deny that these network tools are addicting and getting our lot of time. And regarding this, we discussed the point internet's bath in rule number 1. So, what is the solution if we can't quit social media altogether? Author give us an example of author and digital media consultant Bharathundi Thasti. In 2013, he launched an experiment. He decided to disconnect from his online life for 25 days. No Facebook, no Twitter, no Foursquare, a service that awarded him a Mayor of the Year in 2011. Not even email. He needed the break. We know about Thurston's experiment because he wrote about it in a cover article for a Fast Company magazine, ironically titled #Unplug. As Thurston revealed in this article, it didn't take long to adjust to a disconnected life. By the end of that first week, the quiet rhythm of my days seems far less strange. He said, I was less stressed about not knowing new things. I felt that I still existed despite not having shared documentary evidence of a said existence on the internet. Thurston struck up conversations with strangers. He enjoyed food without Instagramming the experience. He bought a bike. Turns out it's easier to ride the things when you are not trying to simultaneously check your Twitter. The end came too soon, he lamented. But he had startups to run and book to market, so after the 25 days passed, he reluctantly reactivated his online presence. From this example, author gave us 2 points. First point is that we increasingly recognize that these tools fragments our times and reduce our ability to concentrate. Second important point, summarized knowledge workers currently discuss this problem of network tools and attentions. The last option he had is to temporarily quit the internet altogether. This idea that is a drastic internet sabbatical is the only alternative to the distraction generated by social media, and infotainment has increasingly pervaded our cultural conversations. When Thurston's came to his social media again, come across dozens of emails. So here is the important point, which author told us. He won't ask you to quit the internet altogether like Bharathundi Thurston did for 25 days back in 2013. But he will ask you to eject the state of distracted hyper-connectedness that drove him to that drastic experiment in the first place. If you can find some extra benefit in using a service like a Facebook, even if it's small, then why not use it? Or to call this way of thinking the any benefit mindset, as it identifies any possible benefit as a sufficient justification for using a network tools. Then how to decide or select a network tools? On that, author told 2 points. You are justified in using a network tool if you can identify any possible benefit to its use or anything you might possibly miss on if you don't use it. And the next point is identify the core factors that determines the success and happiness in your professional and personal life. Adopt a tool only if its positive impact on this factor substantially outweighs its negative impact. The last rule, drain the shallows. In the summer of 2007, the software company 37 Signals, now called the Basecamp, launched an experiment. They shortened their work week from 5 to 4. Their employees seems to accomplish the same amount of work with one less day. So they made this change permanent. Every year from May through October, 37 Signals employ work only Monday to Thursday, with the exception of customer support, which still operates the full week. The reduction in the 37 Signals work week disproportionately eliminated shallows as compared to deep work. And because the latter was left largely untouched, the important stuff continued to get done. A natural to this experiment is to wonder what would happen if 37 Signals had gone one step further. Jason Fried, a founder of 37 Signals, has always been interested in the policies of technology companies like Google that give their employees 20% of their time to work on self-directed projects. Fried explained, so our theory is that we will see a better result when people have a long stretch of uninterrupted time. To test this theory, 37 Signals implemented something radical. The company gave its employees the entire month of June off to work deeply on their own projects. This month would be a period of free of any shallow work obligation. No status meeting, no memos, and no PowerPoint. At the end of the month, the company held a pitch day in which employees pitched the ideas they should be working on. Summarizing the experiment in an Incarnation magazine article, Fried dubbed it as a success. The pitch day produced two projects that were soon put into a production. A better suite of tools for handling a customer support and data visualization system that helps the company understand how their customers use their products. 37 Signals highlight an important reality. If you not only eliminate shallow work but also replace this recovered time with a more of the deep alternative, not only will the business continue to function, it can become more successful. This rule asks you to apply these insights to your personal work life. The strategies the hat follow are designed to help you ruthlessly identify the shallowness in your current schedule, then cut it down to minimum levels, leaving more time for the deep efforts that ultimately matters the most. So this is the end of the deep work. I hope you enjoy this session. Now it's the time to go, but I will come back again with a new book, new summary from a bookshelf. Before I take my leave, just a small reminder, don't forget to subscribe and like my video. And please press the bell icon. Bye, take care, see you soon in the next video.